Rocker Jazz. Rocker Jazz.
And I've been such a long fan of your music. I mean, for a really long time. Like,
Wow.
yeah, seriously. Like, I love the trio. You know, I fell into this Scandinavian jazz kind of vibe, and years ago, and started to discover. And then when you did that record with Andy Sheppard, you know, I've been a fan of his playing. And then I was like, oh, wait a second, you know. And I just first wanted to congratulate you on the new record, End of Summer, which is awesome, man. It's like in these times, you know, to bring out a record like this, it's quite, you put it on and it's just like, you know, it's very chill and beautiful and kind of leads you somewhere. And I wanted to ask you first, like, how did you get the idea for this new trio record? It sounds very nostalgic to me, at least. I don't know, maybe it's the vibe we're in, but how did you write the music and the tunes? And
the tunes was actually I wrote over maybe a period of 2 years, but I mostly write right before. I tend to, after I've done a recording, I'm like, oh, I don't have to write any more music. I love writing music, but it's also stressful because you get into this vibe and you're thinking about melodies constantly, and you're up with your iPhone and you have to like hum in some lines, and so it's I think also it's nice to have some time off.
Yeah.
But then usually when it comes, a recording is getting closer, I get more and more serious, and I have to like get all the ideas finished and to decide, okay, is it going to be like this or is it going to be like that? But many of the songs we actually had tried playing live before.
oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
more good.
But of course, they've evolved a lot since then in the studio as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the process. Like, I mean, all of your songs. I mean, for me, they're like songs, you know, because they're like, I mean, they're obviously compositions, but you know, it's no ego. It's kind of all the idea about the melody. I think it's always there. But how do you, like? I don't know. I wrote you already about some of the tunes, like that "Dancing Demons" in Seven, right? Like, every time you hear like a 7/4 modern jazz song nowadays, it's then just like some burning stuff happening and everyone is playing, I don't know, 5 over it or whatever. But you guys seem to like really, you know, just stay in there. I mean, it's a story that goes somewhere. And I wanted to ask you, how do you, let's say, envision a composition like that? How do you develop it? Do you write down how it's gonna go or where? And how do you do that with the band then also?
That song started, I was just playing the piano and then I just improvising, and then I came across this line.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this is nice. Maybe I could do something about that. And then for a long time I didn't do anything about it, but I think I did a little recording of that little line. And then I thought, okay, I have to get this, make a song out of it. And then actually in the beginning we played it much faster, and it was one of those songs that what are we going to do about this? And it was also with a more change of time signatures. We had some 6 bars, and,
really?
and we also found out, with this song we can have a drums solo, and we can like do some, and and it was is this really an Espen Eriksen trio song? Yeah, maybe. And then we tried it in the studio, and just did one version like we have done live. Just I think we played it live twice, but we were not quite comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So and then we listened to what we have done in studio in the control room, and well, the drummer said maybe we should take the tempo down, get rid of all those time signature changes, and do it more Viking. So that was a bit more grounded, a bit more heavy, and then for the like improvisation part in the middle, that's now really big. We also let's just go with D minor. Let's just keep it really simple, because first there was a long chord sequence. Then we found out let's more groove on it, like get into the vibe and have that, I don't know, dancing whites going on. And then we did that. First shot was first take, and then we found out, okay, let's elaborate this, and and then I did an overdubbing with effect piano. I didn't know what I was. I just went in and let's try to do some kind of melody.
Yeah,
and that was also actually first take. It wasn't planned. This
that's when it comes.
Going on top, and then let's maybe add some bowl bass with some effects, and maybe add some effect drums, and so we worked a lot on that. So that was usually the last 3 records. We have one of those songs that we worked for many hours on this one. To like get it right and to build it up with to take advantage of what you could do in the studio with a good engineer, and let's try to make a soundscape here more than some fancy solo thing. Let's build energy with all instruments together. That was kind of the idea.
Yeah, but do you guys always work like that? That you kind of like, I mean, the trio has been going on like what for a really long time now, like more than 10 years probably, right?
13 years.
Yeah. I mean, but is the progress of you like that you bring a composition like this and then you kind of work it together, or?
Often we work it together. Sometimes I've got this idea. I write down the bass line, maybe for a part, but usually I just write a lead sheet.
Okay.
With the chords and the melody, and then I go to them and say, "This is." And I like also, because then I've struggled with the composition. I've done all the thinking and I like to sit back a bit, not be in control, in charge, because I know if we just do it together, it will be, everyone will be more happy, and they know better than me what to do on their instruments to make it a song that fits into our vibe than me, actually. So and I think some of the songs we kind of discuss, is this right? I don't know. Maybe if you cut out that, if you do this, and maybe if we do that, but many songs are just we play them, and then we'll find a way, and we're more confident than before that. We don't have to stress the process. Just play it on some sound checks, maybe play it live, and then go in studio, and it will find its way naturally. Yeah. So that's also very nice, playing together for that long time, that we have gained a mutual, almost pre-verbal conception of what we would like to do.
That's a good, yeah.
And that has also to do with stripping away things that we feel don't match the melodies or don't, like this song, the Seven.
Yeah.
Dancing Demons. It was, it was kind of like is this snarky puppy or something that we cannot do it like this. We have to find another way to do it. That's more Espen Eriksen trio.
Yeah, the change of aesthetics. Espen goes to snarky puppy.
Yeah.
No, but I know what you mean. But as a composer, you as a composer, I spoke with John Holmbeck, the drummer, like about 3 weeks about that, like about composition and that being attached to what you write. Like for me, it's also the same. When you write something, then you're like, okay, I've written this, but he said that some composers then get really over attached to what they've written. So you don't have a problem with that, right? That you just say, okay, let's throw the bridge out, or
yeah, I've got some issues if it's too drastic, but usually it's not very drastic. It could be like maybe we skipped that chord or that little sequence, but usually it's more about the packaging of the song. So most often the song is as I presented it, but I can have some idea that this is going to be this kind of tempo, but we also before changed time signatures with the one song with Andy, which is called 1974, which was more like a 7/8 fast thing, and then we found out let's try it 4 in 4 with a slower tempo, and so I try not to be too attached to.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Also, one thing I noticed about this album and all of your albums, that you kind of get the idea as a leader or as a band. I guess you guys like how you make the whole album as a package. It's like a story. It's not too long. I think like the last album is like 40 minutes or something like that, which is
actually.
Which is beautiful because you listen to it until the end and it's like, damn, it's over. It's not like those 74-minute albums, which is like can be nice, but it can be also like So how do you intentionally do it like that, or?
Actually, because we have this that we try to be more distilled when we do it in a recording, because this is something that people potentially will listen to over and over again.
It's forever.
It's forever out there. Whereas in a concert, you can stretch a song to 10 minutes and you can have all sorts of things happening that maybe it's not so nice to have. It's maybe nice to have the first listening on a record, but then there's a lot of energy live that you cannot transform, I think, into recording. So we try to make it a bit more distilled and keep it shorter on the recordings. And it's also based on all the three of us. We also like short records as listeners, because the time span, I don't think the researchers say it's about 40 minutes or something, 45, and then your head just wanders. So many of those ECM albums that are like really heavy things going on, it leaves you like this really much. I'd rather have people think that, oh, is it over already? Oh, let's play it again. I think that's a better feeling than and we also work I work with Rune who runs the company, Rune Grammofon, with the sequence of the song is also very important, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have always, like, on all of your albums, like, it's like a novel you're writing, reading, you know, or like a story, like, it's gonna make sense. You go somewhere and then you go down, and like, it makes sense, which is, I think, so important with an album, right? That it's the right sequence.
Yeah, and also you get one chance often, because people, if they don't like it, if they don't like the sequence, if they don't, they're not going to listen to it again. So you have to, like, do your utmost to, like, give this is a piece of art. That's how it's. I've consider all the things, and this is the best we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
Hope you enjoy it. So
definitely, yeah. I just wanted to ask, go back a little to composition, when you mentioned, like, that you also, when kind of the new album comes, like, you start singing things and like that. How do you compose in general? Like, do you write stuff by hand, or do you do it like in Sibelius or whatever program, or do you start with a melody, or because some of your songs, like, I don't know, like Comeda or Intermezzo or Floating, they have quite intricate changes also, like, you know, it sounds very, like, relaxed and easy, but I listened to it and I was like, did some chords, like, oh, that's some cool changes. And I just would like to hear how you start writing basically the song. I mean, it differs from a song to song, I guess, but
yeah. I think two of my songs, it's actually the title track from End of Summer and Oslo from our second album, What Took You So Long. I just recorded, I sang it on like on the Oslo piece I sang after there was this rose ceremony, after there was a big terror incident happening in Oslo in, was it 2011, and there was a big ceremony, and then I got home and lying in my bed and I couldn't sleep, and then this tune, which was called Oslo, turned up, and I hummed it, and the next day I tried it on the piano and find the chords, and that was the song. And it's not that dramatic with the End of Summer. Then out with a friend and drinking some beer, and this was during the process when I was in one of those processes when I was writing music and trying, and I hadn't done very good work, I thought. So tried for weeks, but not getting any, like, really good compositions, and then or songs, and then I just, let's go and have a beer or fight. And then I came home, and before I went to bed, this song came into my head, and I just hummed it. And the next day I did the course, and I was finished. Usually it's not like that. It would be very, very great if all the songs just came to me. Usually I just play around on the piano, and then suddenly I improvise, and then there's a line, and often maybe all of the, like, A section or one part of the song can come, like, really. And then the struggle is how to get from there to the finished song. Am I going to change the chords? Is there going to be some ostinato? How is the B section? And then I have to try over and over again. So, and I also, most of what I write, I just throw in the bin. I just
really,
or I never actually write it out. I just have some things I'm working on, and then I think, because I like to have this the quality with the songs that you can. It's a song. It's not just many random notes. So I like to have this kind of minimalistic surface on it. But then, as you said, there's also some people don't know that if they're not musicians. But some of our songs is actually quite difficult to play because, and also to improvise over because the underlying harmonics and sometimes the rhythms are a bit. So I like this contrast with. I think that in order to be minimalistic, you have to have some kind of tension. It cannot just be simple. Then it's nothing. So, but to be minimalistic, there has to be some quality about it. It's not just simple, but it evokes a feeling, or it has a contrast with the chords, or so that's why if I don't feel like this thing I'm working on, don't have that, I just throw it away and hopefully something else will emerge. But usually I do it on the piano, and sometimes I also like back to bass on this record. Came to me the main theme when I was working just some blocks down here to get my youngest boy from kindergarten to fetch him
that's so
kindergarten.
Cool.
And then but usually these songs comes when I'm in the process already.
Because your brain is then constantly.
Because my brain is working all the time. And that's why I think I have to have some break from it occasionally, because if else you constantly be waking up and singing and be too preoccupied with it.
Yeah. But for you, but like you said, you have heavy structures, but it's always about the melody for you, right? In a way, I mean.
Yeah. Usually,
I think
I've never written I never started with a groove or a chord sequence. It's always linked from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then, but most of the work is actually to find. Okay, I have some great idea, but where does it go from here? Because it can go in all kinds of directions.
Yeah.
Sometimes I struggle really hard. I just have to put it away, and suddenly, there's the second theme. There's the B section. There's the.
Yeah, but how do you also I mean, when I listen to your band or your piano playing, it seems to be really, like I mentioned before, egoless in a sense. It's like you said, it's all about the composition. How do you force yourself as a musician? I mean, not force maybe, but how do you teach yourself? Sometimes I have to tell myself, concerts is different, but on a studio, okay, play less, or we tend to overdo it many times. If the techniques allows us, you can just go. How do you say to yourself, okay, man, it's never overdone when you play it?
Yeah, how do we do it? I guess it's a long process with the band, because we I think we not immediately when we started, but I think before our first gig we had a couple of rehearsals, and then when we really understood here's something happening, was when we played minimalistic. And then but we never we don't always play very minimalistic. There was this review in BBC Music magazine now that said it very good, said that it's not all about the minimalism, it's actually about purity of expression.
Oh yeah, wow.
So we like to we have in the beginning, we also found out, okay, even though we like this kind of music, to listen to it, it's not right for us to do it, because you have to find your own special way. Niche. If not, if we put all things in, audience could rather listen to other people. So from my perspective, when I was younger, I tried to, I wanted to write hip melodies and really difficult stuff like Alan Holdsworth or
Really
wild things, because I love it.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, I wouldn't think that. Wow.
Or Kenny Wheeler, or very advanced things with a lot of notes and. But what I actually wrote was more minimalistic stuff, and in the beginning I wasn't sure if I would show this to anyone, but there was a process. I worked with a singer and did an album for Universal Records in 2004, I think. She heard some of these songs and said, "They're great. Can I have them?" So 4 of the songs ended up on her album, and then that gave me a sort of courage that I can actually do this, and people like it.
Yeah.
And then with the trio, as we always have the melody as a starting point, we just found out that when we listen to it, and we listen to when we are in studio and listen to recordings of gigs, we just know, okay, this is too much. This is what? Yeah, I don't know. Of course, we sometimes overdo it, but it's about this. I think there's a tension there if you pull back a little, and then sometimes you give more, and then. But as to say, it's not about the ego. You have to be a slave of the band or
to the music. Serve the music.
Serve the music. It's not about. And it can sometimes be. You can snap out of that feeling, and you want. I know I want to show that I can do some hip shit, and every time I get that feeling, tonight I'm going to I feel like doing some. It doesn't end well, because it doesn't come from yourself. It's not honest. It doesn't come from the right place. You're just trying to be someone else, and if you are trying to be original, you cannot be a copy of someone else. So you have to start with yourself. And
no, I completely know what you mean, because for me, like when I was younger, you would do concerts and then or write music. I need a fast tune now. I need just, and then they're like burning, blah, blah, blah. And then I always felt like after a while, like I played this the same. It's and then you find beauty like just in a G chord or a G going to C major, and it's like, wow, that's so beautiful. Why can't you do that? Of course you can. You can do anything, but it takes time, I guess, to your brain to evolve into that momentum that
Yeah, and I think you have also to grow up a bit. You have to be. We have this. We seldom have people sitting in or like a substitute if the drummer had another gig before we go, and we in the beginning we have this. We cannot have any young cats. We need to have some old people who understands that this who don't
who basically serve the music, right?
Don't have, people who don't need to show off
Yeah.
because they're confident that they could do really magic things with less.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, but I wanted to, you said you kind of tried not to substitute Lars and Andreas, right? Like, how do you also, you guys been together for 13 years, and I spoke to Paul McCandless from Oregon, about that. They've been together like in the same lineup for 30 years, and then Colin Walcott died for 20 years, and then but Ralph Towner and Paul McCandless played together for 50 years, and I asked him how to keep it fresh, and I would like to ask you also how do you keep it fresh, basically in a same lineup, that you're not bored in not bored.
Now he's playing that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how to? Well, that's a difficult question.
Because it does sound fresh. I mean, like the new album, it's like, for me, it's a different vibe than the previous stuff. So,
yeah, thank you. I think one of the things is that we don't get bored with the songs, because we play always. I'm always working on new material, so we try, and now also instead of only when we've done a few gigs now in Norway, because all our touring in abroad was cancelled due to COVID, but we did some gigs after the release of End of Summer, and then instead of only playing that record, we tried to play from all five.
Do? Oh, okay. Super.
And then you don't get bored after playing one record for 2 years, and then you play a new one.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we played that song from the first album. Maybe you should revisit that one.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
And maybe we could do something else with it, or we could try some a new approach. And so we constantly change songs, and that makes it more interesting, because then you play some songs that you've played for 13 years, and also a song that you've played for a month in the same set. And but the song you play for 13 years, it might be 2 years since you played it last time, so there's also a freshness there. So and then also another thing to keep it fresh is that we usually never rehearse.
Oh, that's good in a way. Okay.
Yeah, because we only rehearse before recordings, basically, more like systematic.
Yeah.
If it's been a long time since the last gig, or we have some important gigs, maybe we just meet and run through the songs. But usually we try new songs in the process before a new recording, or on sound check or anything. So we don't have this boring rehearsals
that's good.
every month or every week, or that also keeps it fresh, I think.
That it's not the same routine.
It's not the same routine.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you that, because I sometimes think about you. I went like 2 years ago to Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits. I love Dire Straits, and I went to see them I went to see Mark Knopfler in Ljubljana, and he played, some new stuff and old stuff, but he didn't play Sultans of Swing, that famous song.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it, but people were like really disappointed, like, he didn't play that. I was like, but he played so much other stuff. And then you think about, let's say, Mark Knopfler or Sting, who has to play Every Breath You Take for 6,300th time. It's a great song, but, do you get bored as a musician then that you have to play this? That's why I wanted to ask you this. how your process of keeping it fresh is. Like, I'm really curious was about that. So,
Yeah.
but also one thing that I noticed, like with Andy, what Andy Sheppard, that record, how did that change the vibe of the trio? I mean, he brought so much extra stuff, I think, but it probably changed the dynamics a little, right?
Because he just adapted very fast to the style. We had it, and we rehearsed for maybe an hour because he was late and we were late, and then we did 2 gigs that day, and then it was just wow.
Yeah.
He understands us, and then of course after that, like woo, we had a bit like okay, we usually do it like this, and he doesn't know our routines, and after we just played gigs, I think that was the thing, and then eventually he just became part of it.
Yeah.
And for my part, I usually when I write the music, it's very pianistic, so I have like different layers, and so I'm so used to having the melody in the hand.
Yeah.
So that was a bit okay. So he's going to play the melody. What am I going to do? So and there's also, it's not like you're accompanying when Lars is playing solo or something. You have to find something that is not like only random accompanist and not the melody. So I had some rounds to, and how much can I embellish? How much can I play some counter melodies, or will that ruin the song? Or so that was a very nice challenge for me, and also the way we go in and out of the melodies.
Yeah, it's so beautiful,
Sometimes we double each other, and sometimes I play the melody, but he plays some kind of embellishment of it.
Yeah.
But what was really great with Andy was that he liked the fact that we were into melodies and that we were into arrangements, and that we had a concept, and that we used dynamics, that we had a so he could relate to that, because that was what he's also used to. Yeah. So and also to hear him play the melodies you written, it gives you like an extra dimension. So after playing with him, touring a lot with him, and then we did gigs with only the trio, I felt like suddenly it was a bit naked. So no, I'm going to play these songs from the album, which he usually, and I don't have this great tone like tenor sax, and I don't have all the. It's just the piano. It's like bong bong bong. You don't have that many things you can do with the piano when it comes to timbre, and so. But now I think we like to do some alone and then some with him as 2 different parallel projects.
So he still kind of sometimes joins the trio, or I mean, before COVID. Oh, well, that's beautiful.
Yeah, the last thing we did before the shutdown was actually a tour in Norway in the end of February with.
Really?
With
wow.
And we were also going to play some gigs with him later this year, and and we're playing with him next year. So we're going to.
Super.
Probably the next album is going to be with Andy, and then the
beautiful.
plan is to like alternate between the 2.
No, it's so beautiful, because it's it's the saxophone. I don't know, the way he also plays it. It's kind of this almost Garbarek-ish vibe to it, because it's about the melody, and it changes completely the vibe of the. I mean, the compositions are kind of in the same, how you write about, like we said about melody, but the saxophone, this long notes and all that, it just adds this. You're cooking a soup and you add some amazing herb in it. The soup was already good, but now you just throw some extra stuff, and it's like, wow, so nice.
Yeah, what is nice that he has both this European sensitivity, folk music, minimalism, classical music, which is some of my songs do have some harmonics going on from classical music, and he knows this, but at the same time he can also like put it in the super speed, and he could like play those fast things like burning things, and that was also giving her an extra dimension to the trio, especially live. The record is kind of mellow, but live we're also sometimes it's, and I think many of the audience were a bit shocked by that. Sometimes it could be really, but then I think what makes those parts of our music effectful is that in other parts we're like really down. So it's been really great playing with Andy, and he.
How did you meet Andy? I mean, how did you decide for Andy? Actually, I mean, I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, it was 7 years ago. We both played a festival in Norway, in Bergen, called Nattjazz.
Nattjazz. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he was there because Bergen Big Band, they had a commission from him. So he wrote a suite or something for them, and he was the guest soloist / conductor for them. So he was staying there for a week, and after I think the day after we played there, and he was just at Nattjazz. You buy the ticket and you can go to different stages, 4 stages, and just so he basically stumbled upon our concert, just sat there, and he later told that he was just fascinated. He said to his wife, "I should be in this band. I would fit perfectly into this band."
How cool, man! That's amazing.
And then the guys from Bergen Big Band, he asked them to give Espen my greetings and tell that I really enjoyed the concert.
Oh, wow.
And then, we thought, wow, that was nice. He was there and he liked it. Wow, amazing. And that was it for 2 years. And then 2 years after this, we had a tour in England. And we had this gig at Pizza Express. Mm-hmm. And then we thought, what about inviting him? We hardly ever have any guests, but would that be cool, maybe? And so I wrote him on Facebook, "Do you remember us? And you wanted to sit in?" And he said, "Yeah, of course."
Oh, wow, beautiful.
And then we played those 2 gigs, and we just... It was so funny because after the first gig, he missed some of the... you're supposed to play the melody there, and he didn't come in where he should, and so he missed some of those melodies, and he said after the gig, "Am I fired now, Espen?" And then he's got a great sense of humor as well. Yeah, this is perfect. And then in the night, we were out and having some beers, and we have to do this more. And everybody was like, this is great. And then I new tunes and booked a little tour, and then we went to the studio. And ever since we played with him on a regular basis.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful story, man. That's quite cool. I just wanted to ask you also, since you have this quartet and trio now, right? But everything you've done, you kind of like, which I also like, have these long musical relationships also with the label Rune Grammofon, you know, so you basically it's the same trio with the same label. And I wanted to ask you, how did the trio also develop with the label? I mean, and how did you get together with the label, basically? I mean, it's like one of the best Norwegian, Scandinavian labels, I guess. So.
Yeah, actually, with the label, I sent Rune a demo tape.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if he listens to them anymore because he has so much.
Yeah.
But luckily he did. And then he invited me to a meeting and he said, you write beautiful tunes, man. And even though it doesn't sound like that with the music I'm releasing on Rune Grammofon, I'm a sucker for like real melodies.
Yeah.
He used to be a pop artist back in the days.
Really? How did you get to know?
And he was big in Taiwan and in Japan and
Seriously?
yeah, in the Philippines. In the Philippines, they played stadium concerts with like 40,000.
Seriously?
And they worked with Walter Becker on one of the recordings.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
back in the 80s, he was in a Norwegian pop band called Fra Lippo Lippi. Probably never heard about it. But then he releases all this, like the reason he started the label was to release super silent music, which is very avant-garde, free thing. And what I like about him is that he's totally eclectic. He just releases the music he loves. If it can be pop, it could be jazz, it could be heavy metal, it could be Mats Gustafsson with Colin Stetson, it could be like everything. And
that's great. Yeah.
So he said, you have 6 of the 8 tunes you have now are perfect. Write 2 more good, perfect tunes, and then I'll release the album.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's so you got one chance, you have to do it on the first, and you got the chance to have like no fillers, only good songs.
Yep.
Then do it, Espen. Don't rush it. Take the time, write those extra, do a good recording, and then.
Yeah, that's how you basically come up to the idea, also making albums that are really strong, so that you have only strong tunes, right?
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, he was a bit like that. And actually on the first, I also have another one of those long-term relationships, and that's with the trumpeter called Gunnar Halle.
Gunnar, I just now wanted to ask you, because I listened to Psalm the other day, man. That's some of the most beautiful stuff I've heard. It's just like, I didn't know that, I knew the trio. Yeah. And then I just checked you out, and I wanted to ask you about that, because that's even like, that's so Zen-like, How did you meet Gunnar? I mean,
I met him when I studied music in Oslo, and then he moved to Copenhagen. He studied there, and then he lived there and worked there for 10, 11 years. And he moved back, and then we started the trio the same year as the duo, same year as the. So in 2007, I both started the duo and the trio.
Oh wow, interesting.
And then we started up actually with playing Christmas songs, because we had a gig schedule in December, and we met the day before the gig. And so, what are we going to play? I don't know what we had said to we were going to play at the university library. They have some concerts there, and I'd probably say that we play own songs, but just for fun, we said, "Oh, let's play some Christmas songs." And then we tried it, and it was kind of fun if we pretend it wasn't Christmas songs, only music.
Yeah.
And on that Christmas record, which is called Meditations on Christmas, it it's a bit out there. Some songs are in two keys. It's like Pole, and so that's been a nice thing for me because Gunnar is more used to playing free music than me, and he in this duo he pushes me a bit in that direction to take more bold moves. Espen, what if you have two different chords going at the same time? Do you think so? But then I also push him to be more like structured. So we have found like a common ground there.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to record our third album in 3 weeks' time.
So it's still active to do it. Good. Yeah, I wanted to ask that. Yeah. Beautiful.
But I had this idea that when I was recording the first album, you had me at the goodbye. Yeah. I invited Gunnar to play on 2 songs, actually on Komeda, which wasn't on that record. It came on the second, and another tune that we haven't recorded yet. And then I showed this to said, yeah, that's very nice. It sounds like a track with Thomas Stank or something, something ECM when he played with the trio. But why do you want to have it on your first album with the trio? That's really confusing.
Makes sense.
And and of course, he was completely right. You cannot, if you're going to launch a trio, this is here we are, and then you have a guest on 2 songs. He said you cannot do that. You can maybe do it on the third or on the second, or you cannot release the first album.
Makes
so
sense.
Maybe Rune has taught me this. That's in order to be recognizable, you have to be true to the concept.
Yeah.
You cannot be all over the place. You have to. This is what we concentrate on. This is what we like to think we are good at.
No, that's the brand, you know. I mean, that's true in a way. Yeah.
And it's also very nice to work with him because if I send him a SMS, he answers immediately. Or I can call him and we can talk for an hour or 2 about music or about something else as well. Whereas people working with like the big German labels or they write an email and maybe if they're lucky in 2 months' time get an answer.
Yeah.
Whereas Rune, he's there and you can talk to him and he's sensible and he's very grounded. He says, okay, you've done a perfect album. This is really good. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah,
but I don't know how it will turn out. You never know in this business. Hopefully it will be a lot of attention. Hopefully we'll sell some records, but you never know.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sell, he's not like this other record company guys that, I was a bit disappointed. I don't know. Because he's also in. He's not like it's not you who are failing. If some of his artists, if he's not very happy with if it was not a great success or something, he's like, well, you don't know. I'm in as well.
Yeah,
it's my decision to release it. So that's also very nice to have like a really no bullshit
support.
Guy. To support. So he's not making all these visions. You're going to tour there. And because there's so many people in the business who are like, you're going to have a 4 weeks tour in US and then it's 4 gigs.
Yeah.
And I cannot have that. It's too stressful.
I mean I know exactly what you mean.
People make promises, but he doesn't make any promise. The only promises he make is that I like what you do. I want to release this. I believe in it, but I don't know how it will turn out.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Espen, I just wanted to ask you just one last thing that I don't take too much of your time. But you mentioned
it's nice.
it's
nice
talking
to you.
Oh, it's the same. I mean, I have some questions about your musical background because you mentioned Neustanko and Komeda and so the Polish kind of and ECM and but then you mentioned Alan Holdsworth, so that blew me a little. I mean, I'm a huge fan, by the way, but what would you say were your influences regarding composition and regarding piano? I mean, like as a Norwegian, okay, it's kind of hard, I guess, to escape the Norwegian aesthetic of Asbjørn Svensson and all these guys like that. I don't know, Bobo Stenson and these amazing
Bobo
musicians.
Mm.
Yeah, and but who were like statically piano-wise your influences? Who did you listen to? Like, did you listen to bebop guys as well, like Bud Powell and stuff? And
I guess when I first got into jazz, when I was young, I played all different bands, and I went to music school and music high school, and then I was like I was absorbing everything I could. I just wanted to play as much as I could in different styles, and I had this idea that would be really great to like. I think then I thought, yeah, let's be a studio musician or something, someone who can do everything. But when I started, I went to school. All the guys, they were listening a lot to Pat Metheny, to John Scofield, to Alan Holdsworth, to all these guitar players, Scott Henderson.
Oh, I love Scott Henderson.
Yeah,
Tribal
and I was
Tech.
Tribal Tech, and I was young, and I liked that. I was into fusion basically. I loved it.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
I love that hard. And gradually, I've started listening to more like really acoustic things. And the first thing that blew my mind was Keith Jarrett, Younger Bach, the Belonging Quartet.
Oh yeah.
I just listened to those records over and over and over again.
Yeah.
From when I was 17 to 20 or something, I've just listened to them every day.
Yeah.
And from there, I moved on to other Keith Jarrett things and a lot of ECM stuff. And also a bit like Thelonious Monk. I've checked out more and more stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, but Keith Jarrett was really like the big guy when I was young. But then I also started listening to Charlie Hayden and Liberation Music Orchestra and in a while, just everything I listened to.
Sure.
Like, and then along came Brand Meldo and other music. So it was like I was listening to all these things, and both American and European.
Yeah.
And then I think probably what's my main influence with this, my songs is a bit like it's a mood music. It's more about creating moods or stories than showing off.
Yeah, like we said in the beginning.
Yeah, and I also played the standard things when I was young and in many, but I never
Connected.
felt really connected.
Me neither. Yeah,
I felt I could fake it.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, sure.
On a good day, I could fake it, but I never felt like this is not quite me. And then, but there's a lot of 2-5-1 progressions also in my music. There's some jazz, and so I think I'll just picked a little bit here and there, but and I also listen a lot to other like instrumentalists, saxophone players. Listen a lot to Miles Davis, Coltrane. Yeah, the usual suspects, really. Yeah.
That's
but when it comes to the I think I understood that many of the records I love do actually have great compositions. Like, for example, on Giant Steps, you got Naima, you got and even on Coleman's things. Like Lonely Woman. And Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. The melodies are so important.
Like Blue and Green is just there. Flamenco sketches.
Yeah, and then I just realized that all these records and Pat Metheny and they got these great melodies. That's the common thing usually. I also like free thing, but I've never been interested in those just playing a very poor theme and then improvising for it doesn't interest me. It's and I also found out that virtuosity as just alone, not connected to anything, it's just doesn't, it's not my cup of tea. It gets boring. So then I as I said, gradually I had more confidence in that my things could actually be worth something, and then I gradually do this because I'm a jazz musician. I cannot play a chord like this. I have to have I have to have the 9. I have to have the 6. I just reorientated and said, okay, who am I? What do I want to play? What will I keep? And what will I take away? So gradually I just, no, I don't have to do those blues things or those mannerisms I've learned that you should do when you play standard. I don't have to do it. I could if I choose, but I don't have to. And then and also it's okay to borrow something from pop and rock or for classical music or for folk music. So I think I found out that jazz is more vehicle of expression than it's my dogmatic style. I don't want it to come in the way of my. So in a way, I'm kind of like a bastard. But also that's coming from Norway. There's also a big tradition for that because Bjørn Gabarik, Terje Rypdal, Jon Christensen, all those guys, and the guys coming after Nils Petter Molvær, Bugge Wesseltoft. They usually say, "I'm not a jazz musician. I played some jazz, I played some free jazz, I played some standard, but basically it's about finding your own sound, and that has like in Norway. That's since we didn't have any like strong jazz tradition like they had in Denmark with Montmartre. People were." The Americans were living there, and also in Stockholm they had a lot of visiting American musicians. But in Norway, the first like real jazz musicians, the stars we had, they said, "I don't know how to play jazz."
But that's why Norwegian developed so unique. I think so much unique sounds come from Norway. Like all these players you mentioned, it's you hear 2 notes of Garbarek and you're like, okay.
And you can also have 2 notes of Even Aarseth, and it's Even Aarseth on the guitar.
I love him. He's amazing.
So
or Erlend Apneset, he's Norwegian also. I listened to his last record. Man, amazing stuff.
So I think that was also a very big influence that those guys had already paved the way. So you don't have to pretend that you're an American musician. In fact, you are not an American musician. You live in Norway. You have different background. You have you're European. You have, and it's okay to use your own influences. You can pick and choose. You can be yourself, and that was for me very liberating, because I felt that I had to follow so many rules with jazz, and also pretend that I loved things that I didn't love.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm a jazz man. I like that shit. Yeah, and I don't like Nirvana. That's too simple for me.
Yeah. I mean,
because it was like that before. No, of course Nirvana is really good, but Charlie Parker is also really good. But it's different things, and it's okay to like and absorb both things. Yeah,
I think we were all like musicians, like in this. I remember I was from. I mean, nowadays, I love everything. I love Aha, or whatever. I love those pop songs. It's and the pop and classical and modern classical and heavy metal. I love Meshuggah, for instance. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, Meshuggah is really great.
And it's. But we all had like these periods in our lives when, like, I don't know, from 19 to 21. No, I'm a jazz purist. If it's not, some heavy changes and stuff, no, it's not cool, So exactly, I know what you mean. So.
And I think, luckily, the jazz scene has been is more open now.
Yeah, it's
everywhere,
open, really.
More including, and I think because it was so strict and so no,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's not good for creativity when you constantly scared of offending someone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.